My name is Kurt Schroeder. I'm a rogue and a rebel, and some will say I'm a wretch. What I'm trying to do, and have been doing for a number of years, is I've been looking at the state of the visual arts culture in this city, because the visual arts culture is my thing, as many people who will be listening to this will know. So I'm trying to identify stuff that's a world-class order that we have in Gloucester. So the first time I encountered world-class art in this city for myself was back in 2010 with Pangolin Editions Crucible exhibition. Now, Pangolin Editions are over in Chalford, and this organisation company are of the highest order, respected all around the world. And we had this exhibition by theirs, and they specialise in British sculpture, right? And they had this exhibition called Crucible, but they're really clever people. They specialise in British modern art. But what they did is they gave it a postmodern curatorial practice. So what does that mean? They were getting meaning from the context of the cathedral. So they'd put a sculpture, I'll give you an example in a minute. They'd put a sculpture by a feature within the cathedral. So they had this sculpture, had these kind of cuboid sets of crooks down on the north ambulatory. But when you look to the left, you'll see stained glass of the saints with the glowing stars. Now these crooks in the sculpture were looking, gave a impression of raggediness. So is that sculpture commentating on the ideas and philosophy of Christian practice? And I argue exactly that's what they're doing. Now this was in many places around the cathedral. So that's what the kind of thing that starts to interest me. I'm looking for intelligent art that we have here. So a current piece that I'm looking at is in the cathedral. And this is by an artist called Henry Wilson. And it's a 19th century, late 19th century piece. And I think we've got the Virgin and the divine conception, right? But what we've got here is a monument to Canon Tingling. So in front we have Canon Tingling, and we can see him from the back, and we can see his cassocks, and there's an engraved representation of Jesus on a cross. Now he's kneeling, but what he's kneeling before is a woman. And the woman is slightly higher up, trying to suggest this kind of divine sensibility and being higher. Right, now, the lady is done in the Art Nouveau style. And the Art Nouveau style, when we look at depictions of women, tend to be sumptuous, and there's a sense of sexuality in them. So maybe this is a bit interesting to have that sexuality represented in a contemporary piece of modernist art, because it is modernist art, even though it's from the late 1890s, right? So I'm thinking that's rather interesting. Now, between these two figures is an angel, right? Now, I reckon this is representing Christ. I mean, in terms of depictions of the Virgin and the Child, we often see pears and grapes in carved or painted into two-dimensional artwork. So it looks like it's going to be like that. But there's something very, very interesting around the base. And it's got the letters, or A-N-I-M-A, anima. Now, this we read by the general populace to mean spirit. Now, I like the Carl Jung interpretation of this. And Carl Jung says the anima is the subconscious manifestation of the feminine in a male, right? So I like it, right? It's almost like Canon Tingling is offering his subconscious feminine through Jesus Christ to the Virgin Mary. So I find there's an interesting potential reading from this work. So I'm going to investigate this stuff, and I might well write about it later. Usually like speaking about it, and I don't bother writing. So I'm looking for quality, and we have had quality. So if I look back at the most recent things, we had an absolute masterpiece of contemporary art by Squid Soup called was it called Immersion? Was it called Immersion? And it was down in Eastgate Shopping Centre there, and this is another world-class organisation that's respected all around the world. And they know their language. They know their stuff so good. And it was a piece that was based on sound and is based on lights, right? That was it. These two fundamental things, well, actually, they're very profound things, light and sound, if we go deeper and dig into these things and how they function and interpolate with energies. Now, I reckon that work was playing with... Still good? So, I reckon they were playing with sound and light deliberately to affect the frequencies of your auric field, right? Because when you went into this work, right, you start smiling, right, and then you start feeling really, really, really groovy. and you're left with a profound sense of joy and pleasure. And they got it down to a T, right? So that's a very good thing. I mean, I'm not really describing it in very much detail, but it is a masterpiece of contemporary art. So that was very much enjoyable. What else have we had? I can't remember what else we had actually. What else did we have? We had something else that was brilliant as well. Yeah, I can't remember what it bloody was. I'm getting old. So that's the kind of, anyway, that's the kind of thing I'm kind of looking at or trying to see and celebrate in this city, because I don't think this city does that very well generally, but there are some exceptions obviously since the 2010 exhibition of Crucible 2 in 2014 followed up on the same kind of lines and basis of using postmodernist techniques to exhibit modernist sculptures. So I'm looking for quality. So I'm starting to look around at these small things, like I'm just saying the Henry Wilson, and I'll continue to pursue this as I go along. Also, something we don't celebrate in this city is the stained glass. And the reason why the stained glass isn't celebrated in this city is because it's Christian theology, basically. And because Christianity is apparently on the wane, people don't want to celebrate it. But what we should be doing in terms of looking at the stained glass, we should be seeing them as artworks in their own right. And that's what needs to be done to overcome this kind of anti-Christian sensibility and celebrating this beautiful visual arts form of stained glass window making. Now, well, what do I love about Gloucester? That's deeply and profoundly problematic. I mean, the history of this city has been neglect, and, you know, this lack of civic pride always starts from the top. And, you know, because the neglect, I mean, I put it back down to, I'm a lefty, but I put it back down to the 70s when the class war thing was going on. The class war is still active and live right now in the contemporary. And what they were thinking or saying was like the middle class are controlling all the cultural tropes within the arts, right? So the class war sensibility then was saying, well, if you want culture, feck off to Cheltenham, right? And I get it and I understand it, because I'm a working class kid, and, you know, we've got all the middle class, right? They're running the cultural tropes within the arts organisations, right? And these organisations are supposed to be given a platform to marginalised voices. Now, I'm a working class educated kid, and I keep my working class accent deliberately. A number of years ago, to come on my mini talk looking at the problems we have with our public artworks, the very middle class, you're so negative and nobody is available. Right? So this is the kind of attitude you get when you're a working class intelligent person trying to engage and address culture. You get dismissed, they try to annihilate you, left, right and centre, any way they can, right? Because they're frightened, they seem to be frightened from, well, what is it? I mean, they seem to be frightened of having an independent voice. I think they're also frightened that when you get somebody outside the middle class who's articulate, intelligent and knows his stuff about visual arts culture, I think they feel threatened. So it surprises me really, because when I'm looking at visual arts culture, it's because I love it, and I'm looking at the problems we have. I'm looking at the things we're missing, like the stained glass, for example. You know, we need to celebrate some of this stuff, but, you know, it seems to me we seem to be in this kind of cultural, well, I was going to say cultural dark ages, but that's an insult to the dark ages, because the Gothic cathedrals are made in the so-called dark ages, right? And they're absolutely magnificent monuments. And, you know, when you look at some of the, I'm not very good with talking about architecture, but when you see some of these details in the windows and stuff, and the heights of these things are propped up on little thin stuff, and it's absolutely remarkable. So anyway, that's me going sideways for Gothic rap. What's my hope for Gloucester? Wishing it was somewhere else and something else. All right, okay, you want to say something positive, okay. What can I say positive about this sea? Okay, we do have a couple of organisations, right, that are absolutely banging, and that is, of course, I ain't got a musical bone in my body, right, but the music works are amazing. What I love about them is, number one, the music actually works, and what they're doing is they're taking people who've perhaps had a bit of a rough start in life for a multiplicity of reasons, and they're reaching out to those people to give them some expression. It develops confidence, enjoyment, connection with other people, man. What else we got? We've got another organisation, Strike a Light. So we got two good strands there in the city. So we got something to develop on, because those people are being recognised as they're recognised certainly by Arts Council England for the work they've been doing.